I didn't tell anyone about this for a long time because it sounds stupid when you say it out loud. Even now, I'm not sure what I heard. I just know it changed the way I camp, and honestly, the way I think about quiet places. This happened last October, on a Friday night. I remember because I'd gotten off work late, 6:47 p.m., according to the timestamp on the last email I sent, and I almost cancelled the trip. I work a pretty boring job doing inventory for a hardware store, and I'd been looking forward to a solo overnight just to reset. Nothing extreme. One night. A short hike in, sleep, hike out in the morning. The campsite was in a state forest about an hour and a half from my apartment. I'd been there twice before with friends. Same trail, same clearing. It felt familiar enough that I didn't think twice about going alone. I stopped at a Shell station on the way and bought a Gatorade, a beef jerky stick, and one of those terrible microwave cheeseburgers. I remember the cashier had on a Phillies cap and the receipt time said 8:12 p.m. I shoved it into my pocket without thinking. That receipt matters later, which is weird to say. I parked at the trailhead at 8:41. There was one other car there, an old Subaru with a dented bumper. I assumed someone else was camping deeper in. That actually made me feel better. The hike-in took about 25 minutes. I used a black diamond headlamp I'd had for years. The elastic strap stretched out and a little sweaty smelling. The woods were normal, crickets, leaves shifting. That hollow quiet you only notice once you're already inside it. I reached the clearing at 9:09. I know because I checked my phone before putting it on airplane mode. 1 bar of service, as usual. I set up my tent, a cheap Ozark Trail, 2-person, slightly crooked like always. I ate the cheeseburger, regretted it, and drank half the Gatorade. Nothing felt off. I even laughed at myself for being tense. Alone camping always feels dramatic for the first half hour. Around 10:30, I crawled into the tent and zipped it closed. I left the rain fly half open because the weather app said clear all night, low of 52 degrees. I lay there scrolling through old photos until my phone hit 18%, then turned it off completely to save battery. That was when I heard the first sound. At first, I thought it was wind moving through the trees. It was soft, rhythmic, and low. I remember thinking, that's not wind, but not in a scared way, more like curiosity. It sounded wet, almost, like someone breathing through their nose after crying. I sat up and listened. It stopped. That should have reassured me, but it didn't. It felt like when you think someone says your name and then pretends they didn't. I waited a full minute, counting in my head, 60 slow seconds. Then I told myself it was probably a deer, or maybe the other camper shifting in their tent somewhere nearby. I lay back down. About 5 minutes later, it started again. This time, it was closer. I could tell because it wasn't blending into the background noise. It felt placed, like it had a direction. I remember thinking, okay, don't be dramatic. I even whispered it out loud, which felt ridiculous and childish the second I did it. I unzipped the tent just enough to stick my head out. The headlamp beam cut through the trees in a narrow cone. Nothing moved, no eyes reflecting back, no footsteps, just the clearing and the dark wall of forest beyond. The breathing stopped again. I told myself that if it were an animal, it wouldn't care whether I was listening. That logic helped a little. I zipped the tent closed and forced myself to lie still. I must have drifted off, because the next thing I remember is jolting awake with my heart already racing. The breathing was right outside the tent, not touching it, not rustling leaves, just there, slow, steady, and unmistakably human in rhythm. In through the nose, out through the mouth, slight hitch at the end, like someone trying to be quiet. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe for a second, which made my chest burn. My brain did everything it could to explain it away. Someone else camping, someone lost, someone messing with me. A prank, sleep paralysis, anything but what it felt like. The worst part was how patient it sounded. After maybe 30 seconds, though it felt much longer, it shifted. I heard leaves compress, not footsteps exactly, but weight adjusting. The breathing moved along the side of the tent, slow, deliberate. I made a mistake then. I cleared my throat. The breathing stopped instantly. No scrambling away, no startled noise, just silence so complete my ears rang. I don't know how long I stayed like that, frozen, staring at the tent wall. Eventually, I realized my hands were numb from gripping my sleeping bag. I whispered, "Hello?" Nothing. I didn't sleep after that. I sat there until the sky started to lighten, staring at the zipper, waiting for it to move. When dawn came, I packed up as fast as I could. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped my tent poles twice. I kept scanning the tree line, expecting something. I don't know what. That's when I noticed the footprints. They were shallow, almost smudged, like someone had tried not to leave them. Bare feet, adult-sized, just a few steps near where my head had been when I was lying down. Then nothing. I took pictures with my phone, hands still shaking. The timestamp said 6:18 a.m. I hiked out without stopping. The Subaru was gone. At the trailhead, I pulled the receipt out of my pocket to wipe sweat off my hands and realized it was damp. When I unfolded it, there was a muddy thumbprint on the back. Not mine. I hadn't touched dirt since leaving the tent. I showed the photos to a ranger later that day. He looked at them, shrugged, and said, "Footprints can be misleading. Animals, erosion. People imagine things when they're tired." I didn't argue. I still camp. I just don't go alone anymore, and I don't sleep with the tent fully zipped. Sometimes, late at night, when my apartment is quiet and the heater clicks on and off, I catch myself holding my breath, listening, just in case something is being polite enough to wait until I notice.